All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Weekend Preview on the Urban Dual Sports Show, and we are here today to discuss all of it as it happens right this weekend. It's a massive weekend where we look forward to some of the top games as well as the games and action expected this weekend. But as always, we are fresh faces. Some of us are just seeing us for the first time. My name is Alan Smith, and I have my friend and colleague here. We are ready to dissect it.
Hello everyone, and this is MC here.
Great, MC. How you doing, man? It's the UEFA Champions League draw was done today.
Yeah.
Some big fixture. Some persons have said it's like deja vu. We are seeing some of the games that have been played in previous years being repeated once again. Particularly the Real Madrid versus Manchester City game. Man, I'm tired. I am actually tired of this fixture. I mean, this is the 16th time. They are set to meet for the 16th time in the UEFA Champions League.
Yeah, and they've met like almost every time over the last 7 years, and it's beginning to become normal because even before the fixture, Abela was asked if he felt like who was he having a feeling they were going to meet in the Champions League, and he obviously said Manchester City. While we saw players like Tuchomeni actually opting for Sporting CP, saying that it was a shorter flight, but we know the reason he was choosing Sporting CP, because the last time Manchester City met with Real Madrid, we both know they ended 2-1 in favor of Manchester City. But like Alan said, I won't be tired of this fixture, but we are still going to be there.
They are set to meet for the 16th time. And according to the stat, both teams have won 5 each.
Yes.
They've drew 5 each as well. So it shows that nothing have been able to separate those two sides. But they've had some historic games, some iconic moments which have been produced. I mean, the Rodrigo goal a couple of years ago where he came off the bench and scored twice to knock out Real Madrid. Erling Haaland and Manchester City completely blowing them away at the Santiago Bernabeu. Those are some iconic clash between.
Yeah, don't forget that comeback, Rodrigo.
Yeah.
In the Champions League, and they went on to win the Champions League that year with Real Madrid knocking them out. And I think Real Madrid had a very successful outing that season. They met PSG in the round of 16, they knocked them out. They met Chelsea in the quarterfinal, they knocked them out, and they met Manchester City in the semi-final, knocking them out, and going on to win it against Liverpool, where Mo Salah said it was going to be revenge time, but it wasn't actually. It was actually a repetition of what actually happened the last time. And it's actually a nice fixture. We are going to see a lot happening because we see players, when you're talking about the top players in the world of football currently, we're looking at players like Erling Haaland, we're looking at players like Mbappe, we're looking at players like Vinicius, we're looking at players like Doku. So it's going to be a very, very nice fixture. And Guardiola is going to give his A game at the end of the day.
Obviously, Real Madrid right now, they've struggled. They've had a turbulent season, both in the league and in the Champions League.
Yeah.
In the league, they've had several chances to go top and sit top, being in that comfortable position, but they tend to drop points. In the Champions League, they had to go through the playoff. We know how it happened, but the biggest discussion was off the pitch against Benfica. But we are happy that has now been put aside. Yeah. Hopefully, UEFA do the needful in terms of passing judgment and carrying out their investigation, and everything will be sorted out. But hopefully, when these two sides meet, what we'll be talking about is what happened on the pitch of play. And both are brilliant teams. City are going for the title in the Premier League. Real Madrid as well in the La Liga fighting.
And both are second positions.
So you can see they are very, very close. So the fixtures will be happening later in March. From the second week of March, we are set to see the first leg of this particular fixture. But that's the first, and it's only right to start with the team with the most Champions League trophy, and that's Real Madrid and Manchester City. Another fixture which I believe many Chelsea fans will say they wanted to avoid at this point in time is the game against Paris Saint-Germain. Chelsea have been paired against Paris Saint-Germain. This is going to be the repeat of the Club World Cup final last June. Chelsea fans, from the 2 or 3 persons that have spoken to between now and coming into this, recording this video, most of them didn't sound confident.
No. PSG was definitely a harder route. I would have preferred Newcastle at the end of the day, because we know we are bigger European champions than we are bigger European giants than Newcastle. When you talk about we're talking about one of the most successful clubs in Europe. Speaking of Chelsea, so I thought I was hopeful, I was prayerful, I did everything, my fellow Chelsea fans. But at the end of the day, you can't escape fate, you can't escape destiny, and here we are facing PSG. But we don't really have a bad record against them. As you can see, we've met 10 times with we winning 2 matches, PSG winning 3 matches, and we are having 5 draws in between us.
So it shows that they have a record, a better record against Chelsea.
That's just one. That's just one.
I don't think that record is going to be extended this time.
No, I don't think so. I hope not. I hope not. Actually,
so you know, Enrique. Before these draws were made, Luis Enrique, the coach of Paris Saint-Germain, and he said that they played against Chelsea in the Club World Cup.
Yeah,
it was a hot foot defeat. Not many people expected that one, because during that period, PSG were like the best team in the world.
Obviously,
they were blowing everyone away, and it came as a shock to them. I mean, 1, 2, 3 minutes in the first 30 minutes, that game was done and dusted, all thanks to Cole Palmer magic. But they will fancy their chance this time around. But Chelsea will also look at it that this Paris Saint-Germain team struggled against Monaco in the 2 games in the playoff rounds. They struggled. And even in the Champions League this season, it's been a struggle. But you also remember that it was a struggle for them last campaign.
No, but it's different this season.
It was later on, through the last few games of the Champions League, that's when they started coming alive. Liverpool completely took them apart. They had to, it was penalty shootouts at Anfield. That was how they progressed. Liverpool took the game to them, and the obvious thing was that Liverpool could not finish off their chances. And that was the reason why they got past even Arsenal in the semi-finals. When they met up against Arsenal, Arsenal completely took them to the cleaners, but all thanks to Donnarumma, who was on his A game that day. And that was how they were able to progress and got to the finals, and they completely took apart Inter Milan.
Having to speak about this, I'm going to say PSG are not currently on the best form. They are not the same PSG we knew from last season. And seeing an internet issue, and speaking of that, between Luis Enrique and Ousmane Dembele. Ousmane Dembele obviously was the best player from the last season campaign, having won the Ballon d'Or, having the UEFA best player, and you're having an issue with your coach, who is also the UEFA best player in Europe. I think that alone would make us have some edge over them, because you have to have your house in order to progress. And seeing that Monaco game was actually a hard one. We thought PSG was going to dominate that game, though it was a local derby. It was as if they didn't even go anywhere. It was like they were playing in France in the Ligue 1. And we saw Monaco playing 3-2 in the first half, in the first leg against them, and playing 2-2 in the second leg, with Paris Saint-Germain just advancing with just 1 goal difference. So I think we can actually do this. If the players will look at themselves, because I don't think our players are scared. Because if you look at Chelsea's team currently, when other than Enzo Maresca, we had a little interview between our club admin and the players, where he asked the players which players would they want to meet in the Champions League. You could see many of our players chose PSG, and players like Robert Sanchez, our goalkeeper, saying that he would like to meet PSG again, so we'll completely dominate them the second time, so they won't have any other excuse. So I think my players are pretty ready for this, and we are definitely going to go through to the next round of the Champions League.
He's a Chelsea fan, and you can imagine the kind of confidence he's playing with. Now we'll wait and see how it pans out. But we know that the talking will have to be done on the pitch of play, not off it. Already, I think he's the first Chelsea fans I've spoken to today who seem very confident about this one, because many that I've spoken to, they're like, come on, it's Paris Saint-Germain again. We are not in the best of shape compared to how we were under Enzo Maresca, but this is football, and I will be hoping, but I won't tell you guys.
We have Cole Palmer, and that's the difference.
I won't be telling you.
We have Cole Palmer, and that's the difference.
Other fixture in this particular round, we have Barcelona versus Newcastle. These two sides met earlier on in the league phase, and I remember Marcus Rashford scoring a belter right there at St. James Park. But it's another opportunity for Newcastle United against this Barcelona high line. Over the last few weeks, Barcelona have been trying to, play a deeper line, unlike the high line they've played over the last 2 seasons since Hansi Flick 2 came in. They know that if you want to exploit this Barcelona team, it's just wait, play through the wings, lob the ball in, and you are through 1v1 with the goalkeeper.
Yeah, we've seen
Joan Garcia has saved Barcelona a lot of times this season in our competition, and Barcelona know that against this Newcastle side, who are very energetic. In the last round in the playoff, they completely took apart Karabakh, about 9-3 on aggregate. Anthony Gordon's he has scored about 8 goals in this season. The only missing link is that they'll be hoping that Bruno Guimaraes, who is currently out injured, will return. But I don't see him returning earlier before this particular fixture, because it's just a few weeks away. But he's going to be a big miss for this fixture. They've played against each other before. They've met each other, so they know each other. So this fixture promises to be an exciting one. Another one we'll be seeing is going to be the game between Galatasaray and Liverpool. Talk to us about this one.
It's going to be a roller coaster of a match. As it stands now, everybody sees Liverpool as a favourite to win the game, but I don't think so because they met in the league phase with Victor Osimhen completely dominating the game. I know many people say that's a penalty, but come on. You scored the goal earlier on, and Galatasaray had to defend that goal to the end of the day, and they secured all 3 points. So I'm seeing this game as an open one. Yes, obviously, Liverpool have quality players, and when you're talking about quality players, you're talking about players like Mo Salah, talking about Dominic Szoboszlai, talking about Gakpo, talking about Ekitike, who is at the top of his game, talking about Alisson, Konate, Van Dijk, and the rest of them. But when you compare that squad with the squad of Galatasaray, you see that there's a difference. When you're looking at the Galatasaray, you can mention about 3 to 4 quality players, but at the end of the day, quality players off the pitch, like you said, the game is not decided outside; it's decided in the pitch. And in this fixture, I am thinking Galatasaray might actually go through this fixture. But you know, okay.
Let me give you a stat. Liverpool have never beaten Galatasaray in Turkey.
True.
They've never beaten Galatasaray in Turkey. And you mentioned the first game they met earlier this season in the league phase. So, like I said, these games are like a repeat for us. We've seen these fixtures before. There's nothing special. But you said something about Victor Osimhen. How special is Victor Osimhen? This is a player that you know very well.
The importance of Victor Osimhen to the Galatasaray team cannot be overemphasized. And I've seen people saying that Victor Osimhen is not one of the best strikers in the world. I've said it numerous times that when you rank the best strikers in the world, I would like to go with the top five ranking of the best strikers in the world. I would say my number one striker in the world currently is Harry Kane. My second should be Kylian Mbappe. My third should be Erling Haaland. My fourth is Victor Osimhen. And my number 5 striker currently in the world is Julian Alvarez. So when you look at this, you would know that this is a special player. He's assisting, he's scoring, he's pressing, he's hungry for goal, and that's why many people tend to see him as a violent person. That whenever the ball is not given to him, he tends to show some form of aggression, some form of anger towards his teammates, some form of aggression towards the opponent, and you can understand that he knows where he's coming from. I read an article about him this morning where he said that when he was in Lagos and he tried to do at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja, he moved down with a night bus down to Abuja, and there were a lot of players. He said there were about 1 million players, but not to be hyperbolic. He said there was about 900 players, and he had just 15 minutes to prove his worth in that stadium that could decide his future. Yeah. And he said in that 15 minutes he scored 2 goals. And when he mentioned the players that were supposed to be picked in that game, he wasn't picked, and he was going back with saying that maybe I didn't make it. And he was called back by the team doctor, and obviously they picked him from there. He played for the under-17 and he won the World Cup with them, and he progressed. So you cannot overemphasize with a player that has hunger, with a player that has eagerness to give something. So it's special. Just like what Victor Osimhen is to Galatasaray, what Rafinha is to Barcelona. So his eagerness, his hunger is actually very special to the Galatasaray team.
Obviously, Emmanuel Amonike was the man who discovered him, gave him a chance with the under-17, progressed from there, won the under-17, went to Germany, didn't work out with Wolfsburg, had to go on trials in Belgium before hitting the ground running with Charleroi, then to France, and from France he blew up completely with Lille. And today he's one of the top strikers, like MC mentioned, one of the top strikers in the world. And the fans of Galatasaray will be counting on him. He scored the winner in the league phase where they met. And Liverpool, I think this is Liverpool's best chance of winning the trophy this season.
Do you think so?
I think so. I think this is it. They can't win the Premier League, obviously. The FA Cup, it's not something they can do. It's not something they can do with the likes of Arsenal, Manchester City still very much there. I don't really see them winning the FA Cup. They've struggled this season. They've really struggled.
Yeah.
And they look, even this game is still, I'll wait on the 50-50 against Galatasaray, because after what we saw in the first leg against Inter, against Juventus in Turkey 2 weeks back with Galatasaray, for them to put up that display in Turin, it was a really poor one. Yeah. And that's the reason why I am saying it's 50-50. Else, from what we saw earlier this season in the league phase, Gala were completely dominant in that game. Liverpool had no ideas on how to break down that Galatasaray side. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and wait to see when this fixture comes around. But, we are big fans of Gala over here.
Big time fans.
While you're watching this, please kindly share, subscribe, and also like. as we continue to bring you more content. Another fixture looking forward in this knockout phases of the Champions League, we have Arsenal. Many people are saying this is Arsenal's year, not just in the Premier League, but after these draws were made, this is looking like Arsenal at least have a chance of getting to the finals.
Yeah. There's been stats, and when you look at the Champions League phase, it is divided into two parts: those on the left side of the phase, and those on the right side. And when you look at where the point where Arsenal is standing, it's pretty much easy with Sporting CP there, Bodo Glimt there, Bayer Leverkusen there, Atletico Madrid there, Tottenham there. Compared to the other side, there you have giants like Chelsea, Real Madrid, Manchester City, PSG, and the likes of them. So.
Bayern.
And I think there's something I want to bring to light. Yeah. You said this could be Arsenal's best chance of winning the trophy, and it looks like fate is at their side. I would tell you that, but they still have a major obstacle, and that's when you look at Manchester City chasing them in the Premier League back to back, and you look at the other side of the Champions League draws. I mentioned teams that didn't have so much strength to match up Arsenal's squad currently. But I didn't mention Barcelona. And Barcelona is at that point. Everybody can see it from a standpoint of view that Arsenal have it easy. What if Arsenal progresses and meets Barcelona in the semi-final?
I think Arsenal will blow away Barcelona.
Currently, I don't think so.
I think this Barcelona team, the weakness is glaring. They don't have as good backline. They don't have a good backline.
And since the departure of Inigo Martinez, I will agree with you.
And in cup competition, what matters most, you have to have a very good backline. Especially in a competition where you know that goals matters. In the league, you can score more than the opponent. I don't think Arsenal scoring 2 against Barcelona will concede 3 against them.
But I think they will concede even more than 3 against them, because you have players like Lamine Yamal who can break down the defense. You have players like Rafinha. You have players
Lewandowski. But the thing is, we've seen it happen several times this season in the Champions League. Barcelona have conceded plenty of goals. Against Club Brugge, I saw them concede.
Yeah.
Even last season, while they were conceding, there's a reason why Inter Milan got better of them. They were very much on hand to get past Inter, only for them to concede those 2 late goals. So there is a reason why I don't think Barcelona can go all the way. They are one of the best attacking side, but in cup games, you need a solid defensive line.
But don't you agree Barcelona is like a roadblock to them on their way to the final? Because either way, they're going to meet in the semi-final.
I think this season, when you look at the fixture between the English side and Barcelona, I think, were the only team that got the better of any English side this season in the league.
Newcastle?
That was Newcastle.
Yeah.
Arsenal have beaten Atleti this season. They've beaten Villarreal. They've beaten Athletic Bilbao on their way to finishing top of the Champions League. So the thing is, if they meet this Barcelona team, I am very scared for this Barcelona team. We might banter Arsenal here. We might call them all sort of names, but they still have a solid team. And one of Arteta's biggest strengths is playing a very good defensive line. If Arsenal decide to play a defensive line against Barcelona, there is no reason or there is no way that Barcelona team will break them down. And the good thing is that they have players who can counter-attack. And they've used it several times in the Champions League this season. They've ceded possession to these teams and use counter to blow them away. And I think if it goes on to happen, though, Barcelona will need to get past Newcastle first before we are talking about Arsenal.
Which they actually will.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the records, Barcelona Newcastle has met 5 times all-time record.
Of course.
And they won 4 with Newcastle winning just 1. So what are the chances, looking at this fixture historically? How do you think Newcastle can do unprecedentedly well to get past this Barcelona team?
If you ask me who I expect to get past this one, I will also tell you it's 50-50. To be honest, I will tell you it's 50-50. Okay. I just don't trust this Barcelona backline. Yes, they defeated Newcastle in the league phase, and that one was 3-2. It was 3-2. It was a close scoreline. It was
an individual highlight that day.
Yeah, Marcus Rashford grabbed the game by the glove of the net and scored a belter and scored another one, which was very good. So it was not as if it was a big scoreline. It was not as if Barcelona completely took them apart or were class and shoulder above them. It was a close scoreline. And this time it's a knockout phase. Maybe, yes, the absence of Bruno Guimaraes, because he's the engine room in that Newcastle United team.
Yeah.
He makes them tick. Him alongside Sandro Tonelli as well as Joe Linton makes up one of the best midfield.
But these players were all present when Barcelona trashed them.
They were, but that was the league phase. This is a knockout phase game. You also have to understand that. Now the pressure is higher.
True.
And Newcastle, they have nothing to lose. And when an opponent you have nothing to lose, you are more dangerous. You're more dangerous. Everyone will expect Barcelona, because of their pedigree, to get past this Newcastle side. But let's not focus on that. We've already talked about Barcelona. Arsenal, like I said, is this going to be their year?
Yeah, I think they're definitely going through is Bayer Leverkusen at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Except Bayer Leverkusen have to do what they've not done before, because I think these teams have met just once, and Arsenal had a better out of them. So I think they have to do better to be able to see Arsenal away from the competition, which I don't think so. Yeah. I think the morale and energy level currently in the Arsenal squad, looking at this fixture, they are feeling it's their game. They are feeling they can do it. They are already in the Carabao Cup final. They are looking at the FA Cup. They are top of the top of the Premier League, and having this other side of the Premier League, which you have lesser clubs as threats, I think they are actually going to go for
one question for you. Can Arsenal do the quadruple?
You said
can they do the quadruple?
Can they do the quadruple?
One answer. I don't need one answer.
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's move past that one. He doesn't think Arsenal can do the quadruple.
I don't think so.
But they are already top of the league in the Premier League, in the finals, in the Carabao Cup, in the FA Cup. They are in the 5th round, and they have a day to come against Leverkusen. And looking at their side of the draw, it looks very, very more likely that Arsenal will get at least to the semi-finals, just like they did last campaign. The other games we'll see Atletico Madrid taking on Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham have struggled in the league. They are on the verge of getting relegated. Their fans are fighting for their lives. But in the Champions League, surprisingly, they finished as one of the top 8 teams in the league phase. How do they do this? Why is it that they are struggling in the league, and in the Champions League they are a different team entirely? And against Diego Simeone, what do you think about them this time around?
I think this is going to be a tie of the most inconsistent teams in Europe. Because if you agree with me, you look at the record. I'm not trying to count both teams, but they are very inconsistent. They are winning today by a high margin, and they are losing tomorrow by a high margin. Diego Simeone team, he trashed Barca completely in the Super
Copa
Cup,
del Rey,
in the Copa del Rey, and lost the next game to Rayo Vallecano with 3-0. We see that as well with Tottenham. They are winning this game in the Champions League. They are losing the Premier League. They are joining. It's just like a sporadical score line is being scattered all over. So I think this is a game of two teams that are inconsistent. But at the end of the day, when you ask me which team do I think is going to go through in this fixture, I don't know. I'm feeling Tottenham. No. I'm thinking Atletico Madrid is going to go through, because they added a special guy into their squad, a guy who knows how to break the lines, a guy who knows how to shoot, a guy who knows this Tottenham team better because he's played in the Premier League before. So I don't think facing Tottenham will be a new team for Ademola Lookman. And looking at their fire squad, you're looking at players like Solot, you're looking at players like Joan Alvarez, you're looking at players like Ademola Lookman, and surprisingly, Atletico Madrid still have one of the best defenses currently in England, with Jan Oblak still standing tall in between the sticks. So when I'm looking at this fixture, I'm thinking it's not that which can be easily predictable. But like you said, it's a 50-50 game. Anybody can proceed.
Well, for me, I don't think this one is a 50-50. I think Atletico will get the better of Tottenham. Tottenham are horrible. Yes, they've been a Champions League. They've been a different team entirely, but they are bad. They are bad. I think this is their bus stop. This is where they finally, their dream and their hope, their aspiration, their season in Europe comes to an end. Well, the next game will be against, the next one on our list will be Atlanta taking on Bayern Munich. It's the Italian opposition who dramatically knocked out Borussia Dortmund. From trailing 2-2 in the first leg to beating Dortmund in Bergamo. This time they meet up against Vincent Kompany's Bayern. It might look very easy on paper for Bayern, but once again, after what we saw with them knocking out Borussia Dortmund, I see no reason why they shouldn't have something against this Bayern team.
Yeah, looking at this fixture between Atalanta and Bayern Munich, the both teams will have different level of confidence from the way I psychologically look at the game. Because Atalanta has beaten the giants of Germany. Because when you're looking at the biggest club in Germany currently, you're looking at Bayern Munich, you're looking at Dortmund, you're looking at Bayer Leverkusen, and the rest of them. So having a good comeback against the Borussia Dortmund in Bergamo, I think if they think they can do it against one of the best team in Germany, they can also do it against Bayern Munich. That's a level of confidence I'm seeing from them. And looking at this Bayern Munich squad, they're one of the highest goal scoring team in Europe currently, with Harry Kane now crossing 500 goals. So there's a high level of confidence in between both teams. And this is a fixture that's happening for the very first time. Both teams have not met themselves before. So I think in this game, like you said, it looks easier on picture. But if Bayern Munich wants to overlook this fixture as that which they can just do away with not having to fight for it, with not having to struggle for it, this is the UCL where we see any team become something. I think they have to put all focus in the game and be at their A game to be able to see Atalanta out of the tournament. If not, they're losing.
Obviously, I mean, there's a big game to come between now and the next few weeks, and we expect some entertaining football to be on display. And this is what the UEFA Champions League is all about. The last but not the least is one team that has caught everyone by surprise. They seem to be the underdogs. Every year, UEFA Champions League seem to have one team giving us that feeling that no matter how much you've spent, you are not invincible. No matter how small you think somebody is, never underrate or be complacent against them. And that's the story of Bodo Glimt. During the course, if you go through our pages, you see some of our clips about Bodo Glimt and how we covered their game the other day. They are a brilliant team. After knocking out Inter, they have Sporting to come for them.
Now, looking at this game, Sporting as well has caused some upset recently in Europe. So I think both teams are being looked at as underdog. Both teams came up from the playoffs, and they are here now facing each other. And what will be the outcome at the end of the day? Everybody's definitely loving the life of Bodo Glimt, and who doesn't like a good underdog story? Everybody actually does, and that's the reason why most of the world is rooting for the Bodo Glimt team. And one thing I like this Bodo Glimt team is they don't let the hype get to them. They saw a game go through, beating Manchester City, beating Atletico. They did it first with Atletico Madrid, and everybody was like, no, this Sherlock. They did it against Manchester City. Everybody was still looking at them. Now, the whole world is looking at them concretely now, having seen them beat Inter away from the Champions League. And this is the Inter team that has gone to the Champions League final 2 times in the last 5 years. Yes. So I'm thinking Bodo Glimt is going to see this game through beating Sporting because they play so compact, they have an understanding, they know how to defend and attack.
But the funny thing about underdog story is that it is games like this that is where they take Bodo would be knocked out. It just feels that way. Because against the big teams, they have nothing to do. They can sit back. They don't need to come out to attack, counter-attacking football. But Sporting will also feel that, okay, we are going to do the same against you. So this game is evenly matched. When I say evenly matched, both teams are at similar level. Though Sporting have a more European pedigree than them.
Bodo, yeah.
But when I say evenly matched, both of these teams are going into this one. There is no favorite. There is no underdog in this one. Both are evenly matched. And these are the kind of games. We've seen it. Take points off the big boys and against the smaller teams.
A proper Robin Hood story.
Yeah, we've seen it happen several times. We see in the Premier League, you see the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers picking up points against Arsenal and co. But when it comes to playing against team at their level, you see them, you ask yourself, what happened? Where did it go wrong? But this one is it's going to be a historic moment for Bodo. Champions League quarterfinalists. This will be the first time in their history. The highest they've gotten to in the semi-final was in the Europa League. Now this is the round of 16 for them. They are looking at a quarterfinal place. But like I said, during the watch along we had against Inter Milan, whatever happens to Bodo from here, they should be proud of the season that they've had. They've had a remarkable season. And this is why we are telling you guys, we here on Urban Dual Sport, we are always rooting for teams that play good football.
Yeah.
If you play good football, you are going to get our support. And that is why we are actually asking you to also support us by subscribing, liking, and sharing our content, our pages. And make sure that you tell your friends and all of that to follow all of these pages. So these are the UEFA Champions League draws. We just talked about them. Now I want to hear from you. From the look of the games, Real Madrid, Manchester City. Who progresses from this one?
I give it to Manchester City.
Let's go to the next fixture. PSG, Chelsea.
With emotional sentiment, I'm going to regrettably say this. Chelsea.
I don't know what to say about it. But let's look at the other ones. Liverpool, we just talked about them. They're playing against Galatasaray. Victor Osimhen, can they do it again?
You know, I would say, before I give my final verdict on this, I would say, you remember that night in Istanbul? It was in Istanbul, Liverpool staging a comeback against AC Milan. So they're familiar somehow with European glory.
But they've never beaten Gala.
Yeah, I know, but they're familiar with European glory in Turkey. So, but at the end of the day, I think Gala is going to go through this. Hard fought.
Barcelona, Newcastle.
Barcelona, no contest. Barcelona. Easy fixture.
Bayern Munich, Atalanta.
Bayern Munich.
Bayern Leverkusen, Arsenal.
Arsenal, easy. It pains me to say this, but I hope Bayer Leverkusen does the unprecedented stuff. But tactically,
and Bodo Glimt versus Sporting, who progresses?
Bodo progresses, yeah. They progress, yeah, because they are, like I said before, they are compact. When you look at the Sporting team, they have struggled also in their league. You see them dropping points against teams like Family Cow, against teams like Nakonial, against teams like Rio Ave. You see them struggle. But we saw Bodo lose their league to Viking, who last won the league in 1991 with just a point. So with them having enough time to rest and the compatibility in the team and the eagerness for European glory, I see them going through this one.
So let's hear from you your own thoughts and prediction for the round of 16 fixtures. These are massive games, and we know in the UEFA Champions League there are no room for errors. We've already seen the likes of Inter leaving the competition, the likes of Marseille leaving the competition, and we know that there are going to be more giant teams who are going to be falling. But you had our own takes. Let's hear from you. Drop your comment on the comment sections, as well as like, share, and subscribe. The UEFA Champions League first leg playoff, the first leg round of 16 games will be on the 10th and 11th of March, while the second leg will be on the 17th and 18th of March. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed and be looking forward to those match days. But thank you very much. This is it, our preview of the UEFA Champions League round of 16 fixtures.